Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, also on our YouTube page. I'm Kevin, joined by Gordon, the master of February outdoor track meet predictions. Good morning, Gordon.
That's right. I only wish that there was gambling in our sport, because then I could be a very rich man. But unfortunately, there's not. But there should be. There should be gambling in our sport. How do we make gambling in our sport actually happen? I mean, like, how does you get DraftKings and FanDuel to have, like, being able to bet on track? Like, what's the rule? It's not
You need
USATF doing
more
anything.
people
It's not
into it.
World Athletics.
You need more. It's interest. You need more people into it, because otherwise people like you would come along and take them to the cleaners like you did with your picks here. You need more people, so you get people on both sides. Because I'm looking at these times, Gordon. Look at this one right off the bat. And I hate to give you credit. Let's just be real clear on that. And we all know Gordon has plenty of flaws, but you can't say the guy doesn't follow pro track, especially in the mid-distance scene, closely. Because look at this. He calls 146.2 in the 800. Isaiah Harris goes 146.19. I mean, it's Price is Right rules, so you don't actually get any credit because you went over. You should have gone under. I'll keep going on some of these. Women's 8, you said 159.8. It was 158.9, so you just switched the 8 and the 9 there, though. Not bad at all. Women's 15, 403.9. It was actually 410. I'm not even going to mark you down on that one because they didn't even follow the rabbit. Men's 1500. This is another one that was pretty scary. You said 336.9. Justin Knight goes 336.62. Men's 5K, you had 1321. It was 1325. Women's 5K, you said 1504. It was 1508. Men's 10K, you had Zuhar Talbi, 28 dead. He was 2812. And women's 10K, only being off by 18 seconds in a 10K, pretty solid. You had 31:19. Klosterhoffen ran 31:01. I tip my cap to you, Gordon. Well done across the board.
I appreciate it. I think it just comes from always, for the past 7 years at FloTrack, just thinking every meet that has big names in it is just going to result into big marks, and that just doesn't happen all the time. And I think we kind of, this past year, like we said, with all these low-key meets that are where the coach is the meet director, you're more likely to get impressive marks. And in this situation where the athletes have no control over the situation, you're going to get marks like this that are good marks, but they're marks where you run to win, you know? And 336 in that men's 1500 is just like perfect summation of why our 1500 team doesn't have a lot of guys with the standard, because for some reason, when it comes to the men's 1500 and they're all on the line, and even though they want the standard, they just always run like a second under 335, a second over 335, because everyone thinks they have that kick and no one wants to go to the lead between 800 and 1200, and then you result in a 336 every single time.
And in the women's 1500, they were pretty straight up about it, partly because a lot of them don't even need the standard, but you put that many good women together. Sinclair Johnson said it afterwards in an interview I did with her, where she's like, you get this many fast people together, no one's really itching to take the lead because it's competition. It's a race. It's not how many people can we get under 402. It's who crosses the line, who crossed the line first. I went there on the first night, that Friday night section, which was the Olympic trials qualifying section. That was what it was billed as. And there were some big names there. There was some fast high schoolers running. Craig Engels ran in that 5,000. But I was sort of getting the feeling on that first day that you were going to end up being right about the second day, just because there weren't many times that were popping off the page. Like the high school girls 800, like they both ran fast, but they had run faster before. The 1500, it was hard to look at that 1500 and be like, okay, we're definitely going to see a 332 tomorrow. And that's when I started to feel like you were going to be right. So I was bracing myself for your text, and there it came. And it's all its Excel spreadsheet glory.
multiple times. I let you know after every like 2 events that, hey man, I'm doing pretty good
Well,
here.
so I was texting because so afterwards I heard a lot of people describe it as humid. So I was texting with JoJo because she was at the meet, and I said, "Hey, did you think it was humid last night at this meet? Because that wasn't. It was definitely windy. There were gusts of winds, and it definitely wasn't cool. It was not Peyton Jordan weather at all." And she and I were kind of going back and forth, and our conclusion became, well, if you're coming from Flagstaff, Arizona, or Scottsdale, Arizona, or Portland, Oregon, or Park City, Utah, it probably did feel humid. It was nothing
Yeah.
compared to humidity the rest of the year. Or I'm thinking about the last time there was a big track meet in Austin, Texas, NCAA's. And
That
when Sinclair Johnson and Jessica Hull ran that 1500, that was probably the worst weather I've ever been at for an elite track meet. Ever, barn. It was worse than, remember 2014 Sacramento? How
yeah.
humid and just disgusting that was. It was way hotter trackside for that one. So maybe I was a little bit skewed, but it felt like it was good enough temps to get good times. So I think your point is a fair one. You get that many fast people together, you can't control all the variables. Some of the rabbiting was a bit erratic, or people just not following the rabbits, or there's not enough depth, and this is what you get. I think Klosterhoffen and Wilson were the two stars uh, being there. That was my interpretation. But when you look through the results, you have a different person that you thought really stole the headlines from this meet.
Well, not really stole the headlines, but more of I kind of want to know the the only athlete I was most interested in seeing how he or she would perform was Kira D'Amato.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she doesn't get the standard makes me think, when's she going to try again? Because just getting the Olympic trial standard means nothing, because there's enough women with the Olympic standard that
Yeah.
if you're going into the Olympic trials 10K without the standard, you're not making the team, because there's no way it's going to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me think, okay, she's going to have to make another attempt. Did you talk to her, and what was her reaction to not getting it? Does she feel like 31, was it 20? What's the standard? 31, 20 something?
31:25, isn't it not?
31:25.
31:25.
Does she feel like that
Yeah.
is out of reach for her? Like, what was she thinking?
No, she thinks she can still get it, but that was definitely her target. And she said it was a little demoralizing when the woman she had been running with in the early part of the race, Klosterhoffen, ends up lapping her by the end, which Klosterhoffen on another level. Obviously, she's one of the best in the world. And she said she knew that she was in trouble when Klosterhoffen was behind her and was cheering her on essentially during the race, like before she had lapped her, and she was thinking, man, she's got a lot of energy right now. Like, she's saying, come on, you can keep going, stick with the pacer, stick with the pacer. So she's going to try to get it. I asked her if she thought 10,000 was her best event, seeing as how she's really thrived in the marathon, but also put down some good 5,000 meter times. And she agreed with that. I think it was her first race that didn't follow this incredible trajectory that we've seen since she burst on the scene last year. Every other race she had run, she just outperformed expectations. But I wouldn't read too much into it in terms of whether or not she can get the standard, because once Klosterhoffen took off, she was completely by herself with no help at all. And that's a long way to run. That's a long way to run, again, with the weather not being the greatest out there. So I think she still got a shot to get it. It is kind of remarkable, though. She was going toe to toe. She was a lot in there with Klosterhoffen, a woman who won the bronze medal in 2019, and D'Amato, the person who 2 years ago we weren't even talking about. So I think, yeah, she's obviously gonna take another crack at it, and it's gonna be hard though. That's a hard standard. So many people did it with ease at the Bowerman meet. We probably assumed more people would get it, but 31:25 is a tough mark to hit.
Anything else that you noticed at the meet?
Well, I thought Wilson looked really good, and you look at Wilson in the context of what Athing Mu did this weekend when she ran 1:58.40 and broke the collegiate record. Wilson ran 1:58.9, so right around the same time. And that women's 800 meter team is going to be hard to make. We haven't seen Raven Rogers run an 800 yet this year. So remember, she was supposed to run in that Arkansas meet, and then because of contact tracing, she didn't end up running. So I thought just Ajay Wilson dominating an 800 isn't surprising because that's just what she seems to do. But that was that was a solid field, right? You had Kayla Edwards in there. You had some, Sierra Brown, you had Kate Grace. There were some people in there who are finalists, like contenders for the trials, and she handled the field pretty easily. The other thing I was wondering about, because this broke, was it late last week, about the trial schedule switching? It was Friday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, something like that? Okay. So you know me and the schedule, right? You know that how I have a deep, committed relationship to a major meet schedule.
I mean, you have 2032 already up, right? You're already going through that one? All right.
Yeah. Listen, 2032. If you're trying to do that 400, 200 double, you might be interested in that. So my first read on it. So if people don't know, it's going to mimic the Olympic schedule, which I think is a good idea. Because we've talked about, well, they're going to run this race at trials, but then they're going to not take the spot because they're going to not be able to do that double. It's annoying from the perspective of you want to see everybody win as many national championships as they can, and you want to see the best people in every event. But from the perspective of, do you actually want to see who the team is going to be? It helps the viewer. So the big news was they flipped the 5 and the 10. Right? So instead of the 10 being at the beginning of the meet, the 5 is now at the beginning of the meet, and the 5 and the 15 overlap. So, as you could expect, someone like Nikki Hiltz was looking at it and saying, well, now there's going to be probably fewer big guns in the 15 because you can't do the 15-5 double. Someone like Eleanor Purrier, who was thinking of doing both, now has to pick one. She looked good in the 5,000 in this meet, but you have to make a judgment on which one is your best shot. I thought the big winner from all that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the biggest winner, if you had to boil it down to one person, is Krisha Swizer.
Yeah. I mean, because now she knows that, like, first of all, the
Houlihan's probably not going to run it.
Yeah.
Purrier may not run it.
Yeah.
Jenny Simpson may not run it. It leaves a and then you get to do your best event first, and then she can, if it doesn't work out, she can come back later in the meet and run a 10,000. She doesn't need to run a 10,000 in the beginning of the meet and then put that in her legs and then do her best event later. I think it worked out perfectly for her.
You want your second tier event to be your backup event to happen second, not first. And yeah, I mean, think about someone like a Molly Huddle. Does Molly Huddle not run the 5K to try to stay fresh for the 10K? That's what I want to know. Do you think there will be any 5K, 10K women who will, or even men for that matter, who will not run the 5K to try to stay fresh? Or is it not worth that extra day of rest? They're just everyone's going to do the 5K?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to go all in on both. That's why I don't like it from the perspective of I wanted to see the super race in the 5,000, the 10,000 people colliding with the 1,500 meter people, and then you have some 5,000 meter specialists in there. But I also don't like it when, hey, first and second, they're not actually going to run this at the Olympics, but then we have to wait 2 days and pretend like they're actually thinking of doing an impossible double. Oh, nope, they scratched out. And then these other two people are going to go to or you ask them in the mix zone, hey, you going to take the spot? Oh, I don't know. And then you talk to the fourth place person. They're like, well, I hope they don't take the spot. It's just strange and awkward. I like the idea of the first 3 across the line are going to take the spot, but I don't like it from the perspective of we had the potential of having an awesome a really deep 5,000. And it's not going to be as deep because there's going to be some 15 people who opt out. But to answer your question, no, I think every 10 person is going to run the 5 if they qualify.
Yeah,
unless they really don't see themselves as having a chance, right? If one of those 10,000 meter people is like, I have no shot at the 5,000, like there's no, like they look at the start list and there's like, there's no way I'm going to do it, then they won't. But I don't think Like, I don't think Huddle would make that calculation, but we'll see.
Here's two things I took from it. Well, I guess one was already in play, but the main one that changed. So Shelby Houlihan obviously can't do the 15 5K double. If she does, she's crazy. But so she's probably going to focus on the 15. But 1500 crazy things happen. The odds of Shelby not being top 3, no.
Oh,
but
I see where
falls
you're going.
happen.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
We don't know. We don't know which way I'm going. Am I going up or down?
You're going down.
Will she come back?
No, you're going up. You're going up. You're going up.
Am I going up? But I could be going down. Will she come back to try to make the 800-meter team? Or will she come back to try to make the 10K team? Assuming she doesn't make the 1500, which wouldn't happen. But in that rare chance she doesn't make the 1500, are we seeing Shelby in the 8 and pull a Brenda Martinez type double?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to see her come back in the 10 and make a 10K type debut?
I think the 10 would be, it's weird to say this, but I think the 10 would be an easier team to make. Don't you think?
Yeah. How do you think 10K runners would feel if they're like, God, they're going to be the biggest Shelby Houlihan fans because they're not going to want to see Shelby in a 10K with Carissa. You're like, God damn it. That would be the worst thing ever. But I don't know.
She's got to get the time, though.
800? Yeah. Well, will she now try to get the time?
Like, that's a great question.
Does this will Shelby now all of a sudden, I mean, she can easily get the 800-meter time and have that, but will she? I don't know. I feel like she'll do the 8. That's what I think.
Certainly easier to get the standard, but you're looking at the 8, and I just mentioned with Ajay Wilson, Raven Rogers, Athing Mu, Hannah Green, Sierra Brown, Nia Akins. Like, there's a Kate Grace. There's going to be, that's a hard team to make. Not that the 10,000's not. All of them are hard. And that's what Hiltz was basically saying too. She's like, listen, every team is going to be difficult to make. So just because I'm not going to have some 5,000 people in the 1,500, she's still going to have to run really well to make the team. Because, I mean, if Simpson's an interesting one too, correct? Because I mean, she obviously can run a good 5,000, but all of her recent success has been at the 1,500. I don't think she's going to go away from the 1,500. But you have Simpson, you have Houlihan, you have Purrier, you have Hiltz, who made the team last year, and you have Sinclair Johnson, just to name a few, right there.
What if Simpson's backup plan is a throwback up plan?
Here we go.
And she goes into the steeple if she doesn't make the 1,500.
Okay, so
that would be fun. How awesome would that be?
How far back does the former U.S. champs thing go in terms of serving as a qualifier? Because like sometimes you don't need the standard. Well, that's just to get into the meet, right? And then she runs the Olympic standard in the steeple final. If she just wanted to go stealth mode, I don't know why you'd do this, but if you want to just shock everybody and you just show up on the start list a couple of days before, you don't actually run one in competition. It's pretty wild.
I mean, would they let her? Didn't they let like Alan Webb into the 5K without a mark?
Well, and I think part of that was because it was a former U.S. champion, even though he wasn't a U.S. champion in the 10,000, which is a rule I think that they've kept. I'm not sure.
Because what if like Jenny's like doesn't make the 1,500 and then she's scrambling and it's like, hey, let me do the steeple one last time, and then she makes the team. That would be the greatest moment. Jenny making a steeple, going back to her roots. That would be funny.
Well, it is interesting to think of the best backup plan for people, because if you were a 15.5 person, you had 2 options before last week, and then now all of a sudden you have 1. That's got to be a little bit daunting. It's a bit nerve-wracking. So someone like Houlihan, 8, 10K, she's got options. The Simpson one is a little bit more out there. Although Shelby running a 10K is, just to think about, that is kind of out there. Although remember her cross-country? You interviewed her after that cross-country U.S. title. It's not like she's not.
I mean, she can do it.
You run 14:20 in the 5K, you're going to be fine in a 10,000. That's a rule that I've long believed in. Yeah, no, it was wild to to think about all those possibilities. But I think Schweizer, because she's the fastest, she's the best pure 5K person in the U.S. Wouldn't you agree?
Over Shelby?
Well, because I think Shelby's good at both, but like
Okay.
in terms of just pure five, like it's clear that right now the 5,000 is Schweizer's sweet spot. I mean, it might be the 3,000, but in terms of the Olympic events, so I think it helps her the most by getting those 1,500-meter people out of it and putting in some, it just caused a little bit of confusion, a little bit of chaos in there. But she gets her best event first, as I mentioned, and I think that's going to be a plus for her. I guess you could also say it helps Cranny too, although she's pretty good at the 10,000, as we've seen. You're right, though, about some of those 10K specialists. I do wonder. I would think Huddle and Sisson would go for it just so that they have a shot, but maybe they'll look at the start list and look at the next couple of months of racing and then make a calculation after that.
If you're someone like Shadrack Kipchirchir,
We're switching gears here.
Do you bother around the 5K?
So the men's 10 is interesting.
Lamong. Even Lopez Lamong. I mean, does Lamong
Lopez,
still
yes.
feel like he has the 5K? He'll do both.
Lopez, yes. Yeah. Lopez for sure. I mean, he's run 13, or I mean, he's run sub 13.
Yeah.
You got to run it. That's
okay. Shadrack.
Yes, so but the men's 10 is interesting, right? Because you have people like Kipchirchir, you have who have the standard, right? Kipchirchir already has it.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Or is good. Yeah. And so in that group, you put Fisher, you put Kincaid, you put Ben True, you assume Hassan Mead's going to get it, Jenkins. Like there's that small group. I don't think, though. So you're basically saying, does he have enough chance of a chance in the 5,000 to even bother with it? Is that the question?
Because no one is thinking Shadrack is going to get top 3 in the 5.
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of how much does it take away from your 10,000 at the end of the meet, and I don't think ultimately it does. So I would say, hey, you never know, take a shot at it. But if I'm trying to think of someone. Well, let's go back in time. Galen Rupp, right? When it was clear Galen Rupp was a 10,000 person and not a 5,000 person, would he have bothered with it if the schedule was flipped? I mean, probably not, right? Probably not. I think he would have had enough. Do you have enough confidence in your one race that you're willing to put all your eggs in that basket? I think for someone like Kipchirchir, I think I could see him just running the 10. But on the women's side, I think he's different than Sisson and Huddle on the women's side. I think he's much more of a 10,000 person. But I don't know. Do you agree? Disagree?
No, I agree. I want to see some Safan Hassan doubles. I mean, we might see it from a Shelby 15 10K. Are there any 15 10K doublers on the men's side that you can think of that would
in the U.S.?
In the U.S.
It would be Lamong in terms of people who have the potential to do it.
Is there any current 1,500 meter runner who would try to double back in a 10K?
No.
I mean, Craig Engels just
there's one person
36. So I guess he's not into that.
5,000 was long enough for Craig Engels. If you watch
Fisher, maybe
Fisher, McGordy. Well, here's another person I was thinking, but they do it at a completely different event. But I think would have the potential to do it if they wanted to. Would be Evan Jager, because I just feel like the steeple people can grind out those
people.
Yeah, they can grind out. They grind out a 10K. If you can do a 3K but jumping over barriers, I think you can do a 10K just fine. And we've seen his 1,500 ability. Trying to think of other highlights here. So shoes, but we don't want to talk about shoes. A lot of people wearing the shoes.
What are your thoughts on Athing Mu running 158? indoors
I
in
think that answered
February.
your question about whether or not she's going to run the 400 or 800 NCAAs. I think she's going to run the 800. Although maybe she'll do the 400 and try to break that collegiate record too. It's impressive from the standpoint of she broke the outdoor mark too. Raven Rogers' outdoor mark by 7/10 of a second. That's not a small feat. No, I think she moved with this one race. I think she moved from trials contender to, I think she's a favorite to make the team. You can't tell me right now. You can't tell me right now 3 people that you would have over her. Now, it's the trials, crazy things happen. It's way far away. But if you were doing your rankings right now, which you should do your rankings, by the way, let's get on it with your rankings, all this college stuff. Let's go to the pros here. If you're doing your rankings right now, I think you'd obviously have to have Ajay Wilson 1. And then Rogers hasn't run this year, so maybe you keep her in that second slot just because she is a silver medalist. But then I don't think you can make any argument that anybody other than Athing Mu is in that third spot. Again, I'm not putting her on the team yet, but I think right now that's the state of play.
Do you have any thoughts in the back of your head that she could be destined for a Donovan Brazier freshman year storyline, where you have an amazing freshman year at Texas A&M, you break the records, you race a shit ton, and then when it comes down to it in the summer, you come up
Is
short.
she racing that much though?
Which
Is she racing that much though?
she's racing. Yeah, she's racing. How many times has she
I mean,
raced?
it's not. I mean, it's not a ton just because of the COVID season.
No,
They're
she's
both
raced a bunch.
freshmen. They're both freshmen.
Yeah.
They're both at Texas A&M. But listen, Athing Mu's already been on a pretty big stage before. Her rise has been a bit more gradual as compared to Brazier's. She's run in U.S. championships before, indoors
In
and outdoors. She's beat pretty big people indoors and outdoors before. So I think it's different. Is there a possibility that it doesn't go well because the Olympic trials are a whole different beast? Sure. I mean, it's not just Brazier, right? We saw what happened to Dwayne Solomon that year at USA's. I mean, and especially in the 8
in
and the 15, you see crazy stuff happen. So yes, it's a
in
possibility,
six
but I think she's a different runner.
in 6 weeks, how many times do you think she's raced?
She's run what? Has she run 3 800s? Was that her third 800? And
She's
she's
run a total of
run
9 times. She's run 9 times in 6 weeks.
yeah.
4x4, 8, 4x4, 6, 4x4, 400, 4x4, 8, 8.
Yeah, but she's not the same. This is not a 1-to-1 comparison to 2016 Brazier. That's my point. She's farther along in terms of big race experience than Brazier at this point was in 2016. Again, not going to put her on the team yet, but I'm saying she would be in that third spot right now. A lot can change, a lot can happen dealing with rounds. But
Yeah, I'm just worried that she might, like, she's, Donovan Brazier, I think going through what he did turned him to the man he is today, and now I think he would trade that every single time to be where he's at now for the sacrifice of not being able to go to the Olympics in 2016. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. They race a lot in college.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more experienced people on that starting line in June. Everyone and their mom's going to pick her to make the team. I'll probably pick her to make the team. But if she doesn't make it, everyone's going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. They'll be like, they'll find a reason. They're like, that makes sense. So, but we'll see. I was low key though, that 158, while it was a collegiate record, I thought wasn't the most surprising thing of the weekend. Do you know what the most surprising thing of the weekend was?
Oh, you're going to tell me about a 355 miler?
Yeah. This guy named Lucas Bonds, a BYU miler, runs 355, which then just adds to this whole everyone is running fast situation. This kid was a 409 miler in high school in 2018, and then didn't run in 2019. Obviously, 2020 nothing. In 2021, he ran like a slow 3K at altitude, like a 152 800, 53 800. and then he runs 355, goes neck and neck with Sam Tanner. What do you make of someone being able to run 355 where there was no sub 4, there was no sub 405, there was no sub 408, just 409 and then 355? How does that happen?
You gotta do a mic'd up again of Ed Eystone watching that race. That would have been interesting. I have no idea. Other than it's a bit like Hobbs Kessler, correct?
Yeah.
Except Hobbs Kessler has a very famous training partner who was able to fill in some of the details and explain, okay, why it wasn't as shocking. Has anybody given any explanation on Lucas Bonds' training leading up to it? Like, did he pace a 401 mile or something at some point?
Maybe. Well, it did make me think about when Hobbs Kessler did run his 357. You know, there's a lot of people, some of my colleagues, who are like, he would be fourth in college right now. He would be he'd be the fourth fastest guy in college. Well, now, a few weeks later, 357 would be like 16th in college. Guess how many people have broken 4 in 2021? Eligible college kids in
25.
38.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
We don't need to talk about sub 4s all the time, though.
I know it's not, but like when someone runs through, I'm just talking about like the people are running fast. The year when we see 350 milers, we see a high school kid run 357, we see a kid from nowhere run 355. It just makes you think like, what is going on? There's something special about this year than any other year. You don't see those three things happen all in the same season. That's all.
I'm with you,
and you don't care.
I'm with you.
Okay.
No, I there's something crazy going on, and it's we got an email from Peter who said, "Whoa, guy, just listened to your Friday podcast on Sunday morning. Gordon's 800 pick dead on, other picks way too close as well, and holy low key predicting the men's 10K winner at the end." So Peter thinks there's something going on too, and it's not just people running fast; it's just your ability to predict. Okay, you want to talk about BYU though? Did you look at the women's mile list right now?
Yeah.
BYU women have 5. They have 5 in the top 16. And then does Arkansas have, is it 3? Are those two schools going to have half of the field?
Well, I think the top 2 milers probably won't run. They'll probably do a DMR 3K double and not mile DMR 3K.
Oh, I know. But if they took right now with the top 16, because Arkansas has Gear, Gregory, and Izzo. BYU has Waymit, Hoy, Hansen, Hunter, Plord.
It's Hoy?
It's interesting. Yeah. Hoy.
I thought it was Hodge.
So you're saying Waymit and Shadler won't run?
No, I'm saying Waymit and Hodge. Oh, okay. Hoy. I thought her name was Hodge. Oops.
I think it's pronounced Hoy.
Oh.
But I did do the 2019 NCAA cross country broadcast, and I said it as Hoy. So I think I checked that, but it's been so long. So you think the 2 BYU women won't run the mile? Okay, I got you.
No, they'll do.
I think I do it just to. I think I do it just to flex. So we have 5 people in the mile. That's crazy.
But the thing is, I think if you look at it, there 3 BYU women could probably all make the final because once you take out. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of 337, 36 women who can make the final.
437.
437, 436.
In the sprints, did you see Micah Williams from Oregon? 649 at altitude?
Sub 650. It got converted up by 0.04. Normally, altitude times get converted up 0.02, but I guess this is super altitude. So
yeah, championships at the peak in Colorado, but has that top spot still there. So Oregon's still looking good. What about, was there anything else from SECs or ACCs? I have a question for you. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Are we saying it's a big 4 or a big 5 in women's cross country right now?
Ooh, you should come back to me on that question because
okay. Well, let's just. Well, no, I'm not going to come back because I have a follow-up question. So we'll just say 5. Washington, BYU, Stanford, New Mexico, NC State. Who helped themselves the most this weekend? Whose stock went up the most this weekend? I'm assuming New Mexico stayed the same because they didn't run.
You don't. I'm not just being stupid. Like, I'm not trying to be like a cheerleader or anything like that. I'm being low key, like, legitimately. NAU women are gonna probably finish second or third, and they went the biggest stock up.
Okay, so you didn't
I
even
know
pick anything
that's.
on the board. You went and
I
like
know.
picked AMC.
No, you don't understand. Like, so NAU's debuted a new runner at Big Sky, who's their new number 3,
Mhm.
and in a field where it only is going to take 140 to 150 points to win, NAU has the ability to score that. Like right now, I
Yeah.
have them scoring like 160 points. So this tier of top 5 is now top 6, and I would argue that the top
Whoa.
5 all stayed the same, and then just a new person came in, and it's now a tier of 6. And that's low key, like, not no bias, no nothing. It's just like I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is this?
Well, Taryn O'Neal's
They added
legit,
this.
right?
Yeah, Taryn
Taryn
O'Neal,
O'Neal
she's gonna
keeps
finish
just
top 5.
yeah.
Yeah. But they added this girl, Jenna Hutchins, who ran at the track meet, ran a 10K at the track meet. She ran a 32:47 at the track meet, and then hadn't run any cross country meets until Big Sky and was their number 2 or number 3 runner. So it's now a 6-team battle. I mean, BYU and I would argue BYU and New Mexico are the favorites right now, like tied favorites. But Stanford and NC State kind of have the question marks, right? NC State has the question mark of. I mean,
Jenna Hansen
They
is her name. You
ran.
said Jenna Hutchins. Jenna Hutchins is a
Yeah,
high
sorry,
schooler.
Jenna
You said
Hansen. My bad, Jenna
Hansen.
Hansen. Sorry. Uh, yeah, Stanford. You don't know. I feel like they have some question marks. NC State has question marks. You saw Caitlin Toohey get 9th in the 3K at ACCs. Hannah Steelman and Kelsey Chimmel, they're all running indoors, so maybe they might not be cross country like
Yeah.
focused, which might hinder them. We haven't seen Marley Starlipper at all, so NC State I feel like might be going down just on feel, and then on paper moving up is NAU. Washington, we still don't know about their top runner. I think we'll know more about Washington after Pac-12s. But BYU and New Mexico will know more after Mountain West. So BYU is pretty much locked in as going to be a top 2 favorite no matter what happens moving forward. New Mexico can kind of lock themselves in as a top 2 favorite if they do well at Mountain West. And then after that, it's, anybody's game.
So Pac-12s are this weekend. Is that correct?
Yes. Pac-12s, Mountain West,
And
Big East.
and then right after that will be the selection. Is that how this is going to work?
Correct. The selection is, I actually wrote it down. So on Sunday, the 7th is when they make the selection.
So
But
Pac-12s is Friday.
Do our own. Yeah, so maybe we'll do a Friday night. We release our own selections of who we think should go, or Saturday, and be like, if they don't pick these people, NCAA is wrong.
I'm just wondering, because in normal years, people are very cautious about the regional weekend, and that's about 10 days out, right? So, and I know this is different because they're going to weight your conference, but I wonder how much of these teams who already know that they're in are going to go for it at conference, at Pac-12s. I mean, you're talking about the Oregon men needing to have a good showing. Yeah, that's true. But like, are the Washington women really going to go all out, race everybody 10 days before nationals? I don't think we're going to know much more, is my point.
That's true.
And same thing with, you said Mountain West is this weekend too, correct?
Yeah. Maybe New Mexico holds back 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're going to head into this thing with not much more information. I think that those track results were pretty revealing because you could still get, and then the Big Sky results obviously were helpful. But I'm still looking at this as BYU and New Mexico as a top 2.
Yeah,
that's where I'm landing right now.
I agree with that. But I'm just saying, when you talked about the whole tier, that tier 5. It's become a tier 6 with like
I don't think it's a tier of
New
5. I think
Mexico.
it's a tier of 2, and then there's a second tier of 4. I think it's 2, and then there's 4. I have
Okay,
separation between that. That's
that's
what
fair.
I'm saying. And I the one that's on the edge there between tier 1 and tier 2 right now is Stanford. But it sounds like you have NAU moving up there. Although when we talk about NAU, we have to mention what happened to the men. Big
Yeah,
Sky Conference Championships. Turns out when you don't run 3 of your top 5, you can lose.
3 of your top 4. When they're in 3 of your top 4.
Even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got beat. They got beat.
What's
Props
your
to
thoughts on that?
Southern Utah. Are we sure Grijalva's healthy?
Yeah, they're healthy.
Okay.
They're healthy.
Well then, I mean, Nur won, a guy I think who can be top 5 in the NCAA. You don't think so, but I do. So that makes sense. I think Ryan Raff was 4th. Is he going to be their 6th or 7th guy? I mean, I'd be worried because Bosley was 8th overall and was 19 seconds behind Raff, and then Hasty was behind Bosley. Obviously, they would win this meet if they ran Young, Grijalva, and Farrow, but I think you'd be a little bit concerned about their 5th man in this hypothetical scenario.
See, I would kind of disagree with that. If you look at the people who were in this race, the non-NAU people,
Yeah.
like Southern Utah had a really bad regular season. They finished like 8th or 9th in like the FSU meet. But when you look at the athletes on it who all finish like near these NAU guys or above or beat them, they're not bad. Like Duncan Hamilton, he ran 3:57 in the mile this year. He got second. Like, that's good. The Montana State guy. The Southern Utah guys, they just haven't been able to put together a good like meet at the same time, but they have some good runners. I mean, Aiden Reed, he's a 14-15 5K guy. He finished 51st in 2018 Nationals. So when you remove seniors, you be like a top 20 returner from the 2018 whatever. You know, you have the 2 Weber State guys. I mean, Christian Allen, who finished 12th, he was 14th at Nationals. Remember that? When we were like, who's this Weber State kid? Christian Allen? He was 14th at Nationals last year. So there's a bunch of others too, like Christian Ricketts. He's good. He's a 14-20 guy. There's a Taylor Dillon is a 14-11 guy. So while none of them are like 1340s or 1350, like they're good cross-country runners. So I think it was just a legitimate loss to like some good runners. Like,
well, it's not. I mean, it's not a fair fight when you're not running 3 of your top 4.
If I'm saying this is legitimately lost. They didn't like sandbag. Yeah.
I mean, all of this is nitpicky because you're talking about a team that is the overwhelming favorite to win. I'm just saying if you had to be concerned about something, I would be concerned about a 26-second gap between Nur and Bosley. Because if you're saying you're mentioning all these other runners, but I'm just comparing NAU to NAU, and I'd be a little bit concerned about that. Now, again,
but
Nur's running out of his mind.
Bosley's our 6th man in this situation. Raff is the 5th
in this meet. But don't you think the best version of NAU? But the best version of NAU would be Bosley being a scorer, right? In terms of if you look at every guy's ceiling. No, because if you're looking at every guy, Bosley at his best is better than Raff at his best, is what I'm saying. So if everybody runs the best version of themselves, that's all I'm concerned about. Now, maybe after the meet, Bosley did a killer workout. Maybe he actually ran 9K of this course. He kept going. He made up for the Ks that he dropped out in Las Vegas, and they're playing some sort of tricks. No, I'm not worried at all. I don't think this means much of anything on the grand scheme of things. You're not running that many people. But I'm saying if you did have to nitpick, it's like, all right, well, who's the 5? Bosley, Hasty, Raff. You want to have somebody that you're really confident in that last spot. And I just think it's interesting. There's been 3 races and Grijalva's only run 1 of them. That I think is interesting. But if you're saying he's healthy, I'll believe you.
Yeah. Well, I filmed a workout with NAU last week, and he was in the workout running.
That's why I said I believe you. That's why I asked. You answered, and I moved on. Yeah. I needed to ask the question though, because when a guy runs only 1 out of 3 races, you want to know. but you were there, so you answered that question. Okay, so we're not worried about NAU. Not worried about NAU.
No, I mean, I think one thing also with maybe NAU doesn't do this if it was a normal season where conferences was not the last meet of the year before nationals. Because if they did this at regionals, no one probably would bat an eye. If like they rested Blaze, Nico, and Luis at the mountain region and got like second or third in the mountain region, I think everyone would be like, ooh, they're smart. They know what they're doing. But because it's conferences is the de facto regionals this year because of COVID, people can think of like, oh, you're not taking your conference seriously. It's like, well, I mean,
yeah.
So
I mean, it's cross country season.
Amazing.
You can say that people don't take any of it seriously until the very end.
Yes,
really.
true.
It's like, how dare you besmirch the legacy of pre-nationals by not running everybody or your conference? Okay, well, I want to point people to some interviews that I did this weekend, and also so you posted some. No, I just want to mention. I went to this meet. There's interviews on the site. I didn't get to everything about the Texas Qualifier, but if you want to go in depth on it, I got an interview with Pete Julian, 12 minutes, pretty good. Klosterhalfen, D'Amato, Isaiah Harris, Sinclair Johnson, Ajay Wilson, Zuhar Talbi, got that one in the bank. Mason Furlick, who had some thoughts on spikes, Purrier, Hiltz, Justin Knight, angles, etc. But you posted some behind the scenes stuff too that people can check out on the site as well. Or on YouTube.
Yeah, we did.
Is it on YouTube too?
I don't know. It'll probably go up on YouTube soon. We did a mic'd up piece with Coach Ed Eyestone and Coach Dilgit Taylor of BYU. We're basically 3 minutes before the race started, I started filming, and then I didn't stop filming until 3 minutes after the race. So it's basically 28 straight minutes each of their perspective of the West Coast Conference Championships. Got some great sound bites, especially from Ed Eyestone. He calls out NAU in the heat of the moment during like the 5K split. He gets really excited about his fourth or fifth man. He's like, take that. NAU. So got to watch it for some of that little bit of trash talking, the excitement. And hey, you feel like you're there when you're watching it. It's cool. So
yeah.
And BYU won both races, so it's fun.
Yeah, you did a good job. Coming on Wednesday, you said you have new rankings on Wednesday. Is that right? No, you're talking about you had something on Wednesday you wanted to do.
Yeah,
sorry,
so
you have you sent me a message.
They announce who runs indoors.
Oh, indoors
tomorrow.
That's right. Declarations.
Gotcha. Tomorrow they announce who is running. We'll see. Will anyone notably be doing a indoor cross country double? Will they be doing an indoor cross country triple? See what the Oregon guys choose to do. We'll find that all out Tuesday, and we can react to it on Wednesday, and also have the rankings to talk about who actually will win the indoor meet.
But they're not declaring cross country for the record because we don't even know who's in the meet.
Cross country gets declared. Yeah, well, you can't declare cross country till the 5th, and then they announce if you're going on the 7th. So
you could also. We've seen the list. They don't need to declare their actual starters though, because we see this in regular years. They bring 10 people to the meet, and they're deciding who's going to run.
Well, you have to declare.
Correct.
You have to declare. I think you have to declare your team of 10 or whatever, because they need to know if they should select it. They need to know if they should select an individual.
Correct, but I'm saying Oregon is Cooper Tier is probably going to be on that cross country list.
Yeah. And then,
but that does not guarantee that he's actually going to run the race.
Correct.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm going to do is once we know who's running indoor, I will then adjust the cross country rankings based on knowing who is coming back from an indoor race, because a fresh Cooper Tier is very different from a Cooper Tier who has 3 races under his legs, 1 race, 2 races. And so I'm going to make a little bit of adjustments based on that. Same thing with the women. Like if NC State women are like running all over indoor, that's not the team isn't going to be considered a title contending team then. And we want to adjust the rankings for that perspective.
The Gordon fatigue factor, basically.
Yeah, the Gordon fatigue. Well, no, we call it the
But there's no
Oliver Hoare factor.
there's no there's no honest effort rule that carries over to the two championships, correct?
No,
You could enter
no.
you could enter an indoor
Just jog.
and then jog or scratch at the last minute and then still show up to cross country. So we don't really know, actually.
Speaking of that, I was thinking about that the other day. If you look at what was the event? There was an event where maybe it was a 3K. Or was it 3K? I can't remember what event it was, but what was it? I think it's a 3K.
Gordon is Googling right now for those of you just listening.
I'm trying to figure it out. But there was an event where I think there was an athlete who's like ranked 17th or 18th, and a team could purposely declare an athlete who they know probably won't run in that event to bump out like an opposing team or something like that. I thought that was kind of interesting. So, and then it would just purely be to not get that team's athlete in or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see if that happens. Yeah, I'm a fan.
All right. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com. Thanks to Alon for producing. Remember, you can find the show on YouTube as well. You can subscribe to the podcast, leave comments there as well. Gordon, it was great doing the pod with you. Missed you at the meet, but good to recap it with you. Talk again on Wednesday.
Till next time.